Welcome to Enjoy Fort Wayne. This episode is brought to you by the Weil and I Farmers Market and highlights the 350 vendors that make up the #1 market in the state of Indiana.
Hi, I'm Zach Beer,
I am Jessica.
and we are the Republic 310.
Awesome. So I was excited to talk to you guys because I was mentioning before we got recording that a lot of shows are origin story about the vendors here and kind of getting to know them and things like that. And it's not that we're not going to do that, but there are some shows like Timeless Tallow and some of those where in Sarah with Kombucha where the average person may not know everything about the actual product. And so I'm excited because this is one of those shows where people don't know and have a lot of questions. So what's also great is I feel I am the exact person to be asking these questions because I'm just like everyone else. I don't know. So this is going to be really cool. First, how did you guys meet?
Ooh.
I said no trick questions. Hopefully you remember.
We do.
We do.
You have a child together. I've met him.
We do.
So, okay. Who wants to tell it?
I used to be a school teacher down in Miami, and she has older children from a previous marriage, and I met them. Well, I used to be her daughter's teacher.
Please don't judge me.
How awesome is this?
But I did not like her. We did not talk.
I didn't like him either.
Yeah. I knew of her.
Mm-hmm. And I just thought I don't know if I can say, but he was too cocky. So I didn't care for him at all.
Wow.
Yeah. And then
This may be a longer podcast. Then.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm okay with it. Let's go.
That's like for like a Jerry Springer show.
No, this is going to be good. All right.
So I left Miami and went to Los Angeles, and then never spoke to her really, never had anything, but I gave her my phone number because she was a parent volunteer on my last day teaching in Miami. We had a field trip to the courthouse. I used to teach law, and she wanted to help, so I gave her my number, and that was it. And then I left, and then a year later, her son got into UCLA, and she texted me, and I was like, is this the mean lady from...
Yeah. And why did you think, like, if he was a jerk, I don't care if my son's in UCLA or not, I'm not texting him. Was there any of that?
My daughter was still in contact with him. She was in UF.
University of Florida.
University of Florida.
Oh, sure.
So every paper...
It's better than saying F you.
Yeah. Every paper that she needed to turn in, she double-checked with him. So she was in contact with him, and I didn't know. And so when I went to California...
What a nice guy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, when I went to California, I didn't know too much about UCLA, didn't know where to go. And my daughter said, hey, why don't you text him?
Because I've been talking to him. He's been helping me.
Well, I guess he helped me.
Yeah. One thing led to another, and
so then would it be like you would get a random text from him like, well, how are you doing? And you're like, oh, is he nice? Like
quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. She kept texting me. I just kind of was all right.
Okay.
Tomorrow you're not gonna text me, and then she just kept texting and texting and texting.
Really? So you were interested first?
Admit it.
It's
okay. It's okay.
I enjoy texting with him. I was still in Florida, so we were.
Yeah, you
that
still
was
didn't think anything of it necessarily, right?
No, I think we got comfortable with each other because of the long distance.
Yeah, that definitely helped.
We learn about each other. It was just texting.
Yeah.
We didn't see each other for another 9-10 months after.
Yeah.
So we were just texting.
Wow. I'm a sports nut, and basically when you watch games now, it's so crazy that they give you percentages of this team has a 9% chance of winning at this time or whatever. Okay, going to that meter, you guys had a 1% chance of ending up together. Like,
yep.
Oh my gosh, like what?
There's a lot of small percentages If you want to get into all of it, there's a lot of small percentages we've been
funny that
battling
you
for the
said
last.
that.
Yeah, it's funny you say that.
Wow. Well,
Quite a bit.
I'm very glad that you guys not only found each other and got together, and that you are here. So let's get into that a little bit. I do know you guys a little bit. I've run into you at different events and different things, and we've talked a little bit. But remind me, you're kind of from here, or your family's ish from here, right?
So I grew up in Bern, Indiana.
Yeah.
I graduated from South Adams High School, went to Ball State for 5 years, and then I left, went to Denver, Miami, and then Los Angeles, and then I came back. So my family's kind of migrated out of Adams County into Allen as Fort Wayne's kind of grown. A lot of my cousins my age moved here, and some of my aunts also have grown up here. And my cousins, from Homestead, they're from there as well. So
Yes.
So I had family here. So when we left California, her family was pretty much all in Argentina and Miami as well. So
Now, are you from?
I was born in Argentina.
Okay.
Left when I was about 11 to Miami. I moved to LA 7 years ago. So from LA to Big Fort Wayne.
now she's a
To
Hoosier.
big Fort Wayne.
It's so big.
The look on your face, Big Fort Wayne. Yeah. So
She loves it. She loves it. She just hasn't embraced it solely yet.
which is fair. I mean, you should talk to my mom. Our family is from California originally. 100 years it goes back pretty much. I mean,
Wow.
we are from California, and she moved here so that my dad could go to school at the seminary and become a pastor, and she didn't know what Fort Wayne was. I mean, at least you have someone that has family from here. How about moving here where your husband does not know a soul, as you don't, and all you have is one son? And I mean, it was crazy for her too.
Wow.
So she was kicking and screaming, and now not only would she just not kick and scream, she just won't budge. She will not move from here.
Yeah.
She just won't. She's like, nope, I'll get divorced. I don't know. So it's crazy.
I
But
get it. I do, because the one thing that I like about here, it's the people. You can actually have a conversation with someone, and I feel in Miami and LA, everybody's just looking down at their phone and they don't have time for you.
yeah,
Here you can say hi. They will acknowledge you. They'll stop and have a conversation or invite you. I don't see that. I didn't see that in Miami or in LA.
I'm glad that you think that, because I do go back to when we first met. We're now in the winter market, and that's when I first met you guys. You were
Correct.
thinking about doing it. You were trying to figure stuff out still. And if I remember right, you always remember like the cool people. Like, you guys are cool.
thanks,
so
Ed.
like,
Thanks.
I remember that day. I remember like all that. And I remember I was on my phone, and you guys came up to the table, and I put my phone down. It's so funny that you say it that way, because I wanted to be invested in you guys in that moment. You needed help or whatever. You were trying to find out about the market. And so, yeah, I was happy we talked for like 20 minutes,
We did.
And to me, I just call that a Saturday. But to you, to someone like you, are like, wow, that was really nice. I don't think anything, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think anything of it, because that's just the Midwest, the community. And so it's cool to hear you say that, because I definitely agree that the people is what it's about. So, okay, let's rewind and get back to your guys' story. Who was the first person to be involved in this stuff that we're going to get into? Like,
That would be me.
okay, and how did that come about, and were you on board right away?
So I was involved in construction. So I left teaching to become construction management. Unfortunately, not to do a political speech here, but I just couldn't get paid. I couldn't find more money as an educator, so I just had to make a choice.
Totally
As a
get
guy, I got to find a way to put myself in a better financial situation, so I got involved in construction management out in LA, and it went really well. So I started building houses in Los Angeles with a company, and they're all real high-end custom homes. They range anywhere from like $5 million to $34 million homes, and I know
Selling Sunset.
Yeah.
You guys watch that?
Yeah, a couple times.
Kind of have to.
Yeah.
Guilty.
So I built a house right on Blue Jay Way, which is right above where the Oppenheimer.
Really?
Yeah, it's right there. The trucks are always coming in down. It's a real pain, but
Big timer over here. Okay.
anyway, so we were doing a remodel for Annie Potts. She's like an actress in Ghostbusters and stuff. She was and she was like Tinkerbell and
Yes, Annie Potts. Yep, absolutely.
So I was doing a remodel there, and the next door neighbors were these guys that were just partying all day long, and they had like
Here we go.
Yeah, here we go. So they were partying all day long. I mean, I would be showing up to work at 6. They're just finishing their night, and they're all driving all these really expensive cars. And one day, the guy walked up to me, and he was like, "Hey, man, can you build me a green wall?" I said, "I don't really know what a green wall is, but I can look it up." And he was like, "Yeah, I'll just pay you cash." I'm like, "It doesn't operate like that, but we'll talk again." So the next day, he comes over, and he takes me over to this warehouse. He's like, "My roommate's a YouTuber," and just all LA stuff. And I walk in there, and the smell of cannabis is so pungent. I'm like, "Look, man, I'm not going to bring my guys into this dangerous situation here, or whatever you got going on here, man. I'm not asking how you make your money." He's like, no, don't worry about it. I have a business. I said, "What's that?" And he's like, "I manufacture cannabis down into concentrates with a whole setup." And he kind of we go around the corner, you open the door, and it's like this massive, like, Breaking Bad situation back there.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa. And he was like, yeah. So I kind of met him, right? That kind of got the ball rolling. And prior to that, simultaneously, I've been dealing with migraines forever in construction.
There's the kicker.
All the dust. I have, like, narrow passages in my sinuses, just constant inflammation in my head. So I've been searching. I was on Sumatriptan. I was on Imitrex. Any kind of migraine pill to get me through my day. I was taking anywhere from 4 to 6 Advil a day. I was like, I can't keep doing this to my body. So I did some research and found out about a cannabinoid called CBG. And that kind of started this for us. So it's a little bit different than CBD. CBD is more well known.
For sure.
But CBG is more based in your sinuses. It's more neurological for your ocular cavities and in your kind of your brain waves and all the pressure in your skull.
Wow.
So I bought a couple of products online, and it's super hard to find that product when I was looking for it maybe 5 years ago, and they were just real inconsistent. So long story short, I found a farmer who was doing USDA certified organic hemp in Oxnard, California. I met him through like a friend. I went over there. I said, "I'm looking for CBG," thinking that he had like a product already. He's like, "Dude, all I have is like the biomass hemp that's pulled off the fields." I was like, okay. So I called that dude back that I knew that had the machines to make the concentrates for cannabis. And I said, "Hey, man, will this run hemp?" He's like, "Never done it, but I'm sure it will." So,
bing, like
light bulb.
Like interesting.
Light bulb. I said, if I brought you like biomass, which is just basically, like hay, it would just be like whatever's left over from the plant, which is how they make all this stuff. It just looks like a big bag of like grass. And I said, if I brought you something, would you be able to run this for me? He was like, "Yeah, man, I'll show you. We can do it together." I was like, cool, because he was super friendly about it, which I thought no way that he would be, but he was. Yeah. So I brought him. We ran it. I took the product. Took about 7-8 days to manufacture. I took it over to a third-party testing lab called CannaSafe. Submitted everything. I paid like $1,200. I paid the most I could to test everything and anything and everything I could test, just to see what I'm making here. So I get a call from a guy named Gary Pollock, and he's like, "Hey, man, are you Zach?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, let's talk about your submission." I was like, "Look, Gary, this is my first time. Don't pull my leg here, man. I don't even know what you're asking me. Like, why are you calling me?" He's like, "I'm the head of like the hemp side here for CannaSafe. We go from Denver to Washington." He goes, "I got a question for you." I said, "What's that?" He goes, "How did you make this?" I was like, "Gary, come on, dude. I just
How did I make it? Yeah. I don't know.
I had a friend. We did it through an Apex machine with CO2
It's our first
pressure.
time.
It's my
we
first
don't
time.
know.
I'm in the industry." He was like, "Well, let me give you a piece of advice. I run these numbers all day, every day. And he said, and yours came back with the highest grouping of a full spectrum cannabinoids we've ever seen. He goes, if you don't have a business, you need to go make one. I was like, come on, Gary. I was like, I'm not even, I don't know how to run a CBD business. I don't know nothing. He was like, you need to do it. Whatever you got is magical. I was like, all right.
Well, that's a great phone call to receive.
Yeah.
I mean, it's exciting. Then you get home and tell her, you're never going to believe what happened. Is that?
Kind of. Yeah.
I mean, I told him, I said, before we take anything, especially between his migraines and my son has really bad anxiety, it was during COVID. So he wasn't able to, even though we spent so much time researching UCLA, he spent most of his time not at the dorm or at school. And I think that affected him. Got anxiety. He was buying all these other brands and it was not working for him. And I said, well, before you guys get so happy with this and start taking it, we need to see what it has. I want to make sure you both take something that's good and
It's scary.
clean.
It's scary
Yeah.
the first time.
Yeah.
Obviously. No question.
So when I heard the numbers, I was like, okay, go ahead, take it. Let's see what happens. And it
And
just,
the results were?
Incredible. Like I haven't taken a pill in almost 2.5 years. I take it every day. I do a morning and then I do a night.
And when you say it, I see a lot of things here. So what do you take?
I take the CBG. So we have CBG here. So CBG is a little bit more difficult to make, and here's why. The value of any kind of hemp-based plant is in the height of the plant. So think of it as like corn, right? The taller the corn gets, the more corn you actually have on the stalk. Same with hemp. The taller it goes, the more flowers and buds you have. So CBG is the original cannabinoid that is made inside of the plant. So to actually extract it, you have to pull the plant off when it's small, like 3 foot. So it's kind of like veal to like a full-grown cow, like a steak. So we have to pull it off earlier. That's why it's more expensive, because you don't get the value off the plant you would normally get. So all CBG in time through sunlight, water, oxidation, all the kind of natural photosynthesis of the plant will become CBD molecules. So you got to pull them in there and extract it early. So that's how we got that. That's why it was so difficult to find. And that's why it was so difficult to find a consistent product.
Yeah.
Right? So I was lucky to find a farmer. Not only was he a unbelievable farmer, but he had USDA certification from seed to flower. He had distillate capabilities as well, and it was just kind of like the stars started to align. I think in that sense.
No kidding.
coincidence?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think not. No. So okay. So now you have. Would you say at this point in the timeline that we're going through, you got one product here, and it makes you feel good. You're like, okay, this is legit. A guy tells you that you should have a business. So obviously now you're thinking about it.
Yeah.
Now you just run full bore and have a business, and here we are.
So obviously, if you're going to run a hemp business, you got to have CBD. So I called the farmer back up and I said, what strands of hemp do you have that are CBD based? He's like, so we do what's called single harvest, which makes us a little bit different than I think any other CBD company out there. And here's our theory. I pull one harvest, one hemp blend. That's it. One strand. So this is, I'm not going to tell you the strain of that one, but this one is grape soda, which is a common hemp strand. So we pull off one single harvest and then we go with that. We look at it like, the analogy I like to give on our website is, you could buy one cow and raise it well, then every cut of meat coming out of that is perfect, right? That's a much more highly quality piece of meat in one cow. Or you could go to, any grocery store and buy 1 pound of ground beef and there's probably 9,000 cows in there. You're just gonna,
Because
you can't
they're all just piled up.
It's all
and
Yeah.
it's
piled
like, here you
up.
go, here you go, here you go.
So our product, we give you whatever the best that plant can give you. So each new season, we're going to have little variances in our COA, which is Certificate of Authenticity, so you can see kind of what we're running for that season. But that to me is taking the most powerful plant and all the things inside of it that are good and using it for your own endocannabinoid system. So that was our thought from the beginning.
Very good analogy. I can appreciate that. So if that's the case, walk me through the here's one question that I definitely wanted to ask.
Sure.
When people ask, well, what is the legality? Is this illegal? I feel like, again,
Yeah.
I'm the average person because I truly don't know. I know that like in Colorado, in Michigan, like,
Yeah.
you can just go smoke weed,
Yeah.
like whatever you kids are calling it these days. Like whatever, right? Like it's legal. It is not illegal, but in Indiana it is. And I've asked you guys about this, like what your take is on how long you even think. And you said, I think about within 5 years or so, you think maybe Indiana will cross over and be one of those states.
Yeah, I'll kind of softball this over to Jessica, but everything we have is legal. The Farm Act from the United States federal government allows hemp to be sold in any state, in any city in the United States of America. Our products pass all of that. So you're not going to get high. You're not going to have any of that situation. So there's nothing illegal about what we're doing. She gets at the market. I mean,
I get a lot of questions.
What are run through some of them, because this will help whoever's listening.
I think most of them that I've met, they work at Parkview. I think 90% of Fort Wayne
half
works,
of Fort Wayne works at Parkview.
works at Parkview. So they'll
Fair.
say to me, I don't want to, test. And I said, you're not, because this has, first of all, I would not be able to sell it. I would not have the license to sell it. And it has the minimum that it's legal to have. So no, you're not going to get high. There's people that ask me, what do you have to get high? And I said, go to Michigan. But I don't.
Until it's legal here.
Exactly. But we don't have anything that's going to make you high or test positive. This is, it's more just for migraines and anxiety. There's the CBD works amazing for any stomach issues, like IBS and anything, any anti-inflammatory, issues that somebody has. This will help.
So one analogy I like to give people, because this is like a fair question as to what does CBD do for my body? And the way I like to describe it is, it's like oil for your car. You have an endocannabinoid system in your body that you're born with that's full of chemicals. You have CB1, CB2 receptors, which is all your neurons and all the chemicals in your body and how they interact. Everything we do in life, it seems like in today's modern world, is combating inflammation. Advil combats inflammation. Antacids you take is combating inflammation. All this is something you take daily so that your endocannabinoid system, which is basically the same stuff that is made up here. So that's why cannabis has such a huge impact on people getting high, is that it meshes with all the chemicals in your body naturally. So cutting down that inflammation every day is supercharging that system so that you don't have to combat it with Advil anymore. Your body's already powered up and juiced up to handle any inflammation you may get from a dietary situation. Or stretching or lactic acid buildup in your muscles, anything of that nature that would be inflammation based, you're preemptively getting out there in front of it to help your body process and filter it as fast as possible. And that's the best way I can describe that. I had a chiropractor one time say, the problem, because I asked him, like, chiropractic is kind of preemptive, right? And he was like, yeah. He goes, let's say you get a rash on your arm, and then you take a cream and you put it on there and you say, oh, look, my rash is gone. I healed myself. He said the question you never asked was, how did the rash get there in the first place? Because if it comes from the inside, you got a problem that you're not addressing. You're just kind of wiping something on the top to get rid of whatever that is. That rash is more likely going to come back. So chiropractic kind of does what we do, is that's making the filtration. It's making your nerves have a fluid path so inflammation never builds. So I really kind of identified with that connection.
And I just did now too.
Thank
So that is
Yeah.
okay. So let me ask you this though. If we're going I like that analogy with the rash. If you do take this for quote unquote the rash, is it deep underneath getting it then too, the rash? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, taking that you're fighting it from the inside, and what I love about our product is you can use it topically as well and fight it from the outside. So our son, when he was born, he had major rash all over, and we just took the oil right from the CBD and put it on there. Next day it's gone.
wow.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting you give it to babies. That's just something we elected to do because we get the ability to do so. Most people are comfortable with buying the chemicals and the cream. We just kind of elected not to go that route.
Yeah.
So that was our thing, but it really worked out for us well. I mean, his skin was healing up within the next day. So
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's talk through some of the products and what their purpose is. So
sure.
the one that you gave me to try here says hemp infused coffee tea enhancer, says hydration. So this is one that like you would wake up and do.
Yeah, that would work just like the same way you would use a sports drink. So
Okay.
a lot of marathon, we sell that to a lot of people who do like cycling classes or marathon. A lot of golfers love that because they can drink it and everything seems to be a little bit more loose on the inside.
Oh, and this says tangerine, so that's the flavor.
That's the flavor.
And
So the tea stick you have there is our new line of product. So these tinctures here, and let me know if I'm talking too much here, Jessica. You can jump in anytime you like.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
So these are oil-based products, and most distillate you have is an oil-based product. So what we've done with a business partner of mine in California is we've taken through sonication, we've like sound, like high-frequency sound, and we've separated the oil from the active molecules, which make things water-soluble. Most people know what water-soluble is, okay? Water soluble means your stomach does the absorption, not your liver. So there's a term we like to teach people about called bioavailability. And when you have bioavailability in your stomach, it's usually around 100%. So we've created a flake of this, like a powdery flake that's stable, that you can put in that tea stick, tear it open, put it in your drink, mix it for about 90 seconds, and everything dissolves in the water. And then as you drink it, your stomach absorbs it. Your liver's job is to filter everything out. So even if you take like vitamins, you're losing anywhere from 33 to 45% of that vitamin just because your liver is not allowing your body to absorb it. So that is kind of the future of this industry, in our opinion, is single serving, travel size, put it in your daily life, put it in your water bottle, put it in your coffee, put it in your tea, and you're good to go. And you get the 100% availability to that product.
Instead of losing that 33 to 45.
Correct.
What
Yep.
you're saying. Yeah, I mean, I'll take 100 over
100.
that.
So that's how we get 10 milligrams. So that 10 milligrams is about 33 milligrams of my oil product.
Okay.
With the understanding that when you take the oil, you're going to lose a portion just because it's going through your liver.
Man, guys, I hope you are keeping up with this. This is awesome. So, okay, then walk me through some of the others.
So
and
this
their
one,
purposes.
they all have the same purpose. I mean, that one is hydration, so you will get hydrated in 10 minutes. It has potassium and sodium as well. This one, which is the nightly calm, is more for nighttime. Now, don't do it with coffee, caffeine, because the whole purpose of this is for you to
it's
relax and go to sleep.
Yeah.
Then you have this one that you can, of course, infuse it with. I mean, we put coffee and tea, but anything that you want is fine. There's a cinnamon, there's vanilla, and there's one for the immune because turmeric and pepper, when you mix it together, it's like a powerful anti-inflammatory that works amazing. Combine that with the CBD, it's powerful in the sense that it helps. So these are our new products. We also have 3 that we didn't bring, and 2 of them are very popular. You have one that's CBD with CBN, and it's called hibernation. That's for someone that has sleeping issues. I found out that a lot of people here, especially I think after COVID, they have trouble sleeping. They can go to sleep, but they'll wake up at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. They cannot fall asleep again, and then they wake up to go to work and they're exhausted.
Yeah.
So they will take the CBD with the CBN. It's the hibernation.
So CBN, to kind of piggyback on that, is an isolate powder. Again, this goes back to kind of the connections. I have a cousin who was living in Oregon who knew a guy who she was friends with who started one of the largest cannabinoid producers for CBN. They have like kind of a patent on it. He only sells to major distributors. And because he knows me, or he knows my cousin, he sells to me as well.
Wow.
So I have like a really primo product there.
Niche connection there.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And it's like
He's doing you a favor.
Every time I think about, all right, we're just going to do this business. I keep making these connections. I keep meeting these amazing people. And, you know, I'm interested in this and I use it. I'm like, we're just going to go for this. We're just going to do it, you know. So the CBN is, if you take THC or you take CBD and you kind of take it past where it's going and it super oxidizes with the sun, it'll convert itself to CBN. So it's hard to give an example of what CBN does. CBN is like NyQuil without the fake pharmaceutical melatonin. Like this whole melatonin kick, and I don't want to, people can have their own views on what they want to do, but our view is let's use something that your body naturally needs to help you relax and go to sleep, as opposed to pumping another chemical in there, because most people are not deficient in melatonin. Like that's a chemically altered thing to reflect what your pituitary gland is doing. It's not actually a real thing. So
yeah.
And what you're actually doing from my research is that when you take a lot of melatonin, you're actually teaching your pituitary gland not to work. So now you're kind of causing a reverse effect, in my opinion, with that. But CBN is, you know, the best way to give this example, and it probably only applies to people who have ever been stoned, but it's that last end of your being high where you are super tired and you're like, that's the CBN kicking in right then and there.
Yeah,
so that's, people take that, they sleep, they wake up, they have no brain fog, they don't have that NyQuil haze that you kind of cough out and get your mind to shake free. You don't have any of that. That's why it's such a big seller for people in the medical industry who need to go to sleep, but they need to wake up and be sharp immediately.
Wow.
And then the last one, it's the CT relief that you created that. You love talking. So.
Do you want to go into this? I created, and
it's all him. He created it.
Yeah, he created this.
So
sounds awesome.
We don't talk about it much, but Jessica is a cancer survivor, stage 4 colon. She was diagnosed 2 years ago. Our son was 1. So when he was born, we didn't have, all blood work was clean. So about a couple months after his first birthday, she goes in for a separation of your, he was sitting like transverse in her, which just kind of blew out the stomach muscles, and she was trying to get him back together, and then they wouldn't, for like a hernia. So if we go in for a hernia and basically walk out of that with a 2-inch by 2-inch by 2-inch tumor in her colon. No idea how it got there. Metastasized. And so we put the business on a hold for about 2 years, and we kind of moved all of our manufacturing here to Fort Wayne because we had to be back around family. You know, that's why we came back. You know, it's our story. It's not a sad story. It's a story of resiliency, and I think in survival. And the business, I think, really took hold when we kind of used the CT relief to get her through her chemo treatments, because the pills they were giving you were just, I mean, you want to talk about it? Or I know you don't talk about it much. And
I mean, I had to do chemo. I'm not saying, you know, to anyone, don't do it. I had to do 12 treatments. And then on top of the chemo, it was taking some pills in between and giving myself shots. And my white blood count was on the floor. And if you don't have it at a certain level, you can't get another chemo. As much as you don't want to, you don't have a choice. And by the second one, he had spoken to some doctor scientist. I mean, he was just trying to see what can I give her to make her better. And he created this gummy that has CBD, but it also has other things that it allowed me. It gave me a small window to eat a little bit of food versus nothing. So my white blood count started going up.
Oh. You weren't, because I didn't realize you're not able to eat then, you're saying.
You're not, when you do chemo, everything
It's
is disgusting and you're just nauseous all the time.
So it bought you some time to eat.
It gave me like a small window to let me eat something. I mean, yeah, you would go back to being lethargic, but
Sure.
that little window of being able to eat makes such a huge difference because your white blood count starts to go up. So by your next chemo, they don't drop so low like if you don't eat.
Your weight was coming back.
My weight was coming back, and I believe that saved my life, because if I didn't have that and I would still take all the other pills, I don't think I would have made it.
What's interesting, as you know, I just kind of watched everything. She had to go through everything, but I was just, there watching and doing my part to help. What they don't tell you is chemo is extremely accumulative. Like if you're at 100% going into your first, the best you can hope for is maybe 95, 90, and then 80, then 80, 75, and you're getting less and less able to process chemo, which makes chemo less effective at that point, from what we understand. And I'm sure everyone has opinion on this, but I'm just kind of giving you our experience.
I mean, that's why they gave me 4% chance to make it.
4.
Because it was pretty bad. It went to lymph nodes and other parts. So,
and unfortunately for her, all treatment plans for colon cancer are based off of 70-year-old men. That's the aggregate data group for that, not 40-year-old women.
Wow.
So they were looking like, hey, how do we keep you alive for 5 to 7 more years? And we're like, I think the plan is we want to stay alive for the next 40.
Yeah. Right.
Of course. So we had to really kind of look at every solution. And one of the things that we kind of came up with the CT relief that I found and was kind of trial based, and we kind of guinea pigged her a little bit. There's a cannabinoid out there that's hitting the market called CBDV. It's a minor cannabinoid, but it's one thing that it does really well is it blocks the nausea reaction. Nausea is a reaction in your brain. It's not necessarily something that's occurring in your stomach. It's your brain having this. So the CBDV, as you take it, will block that nausea, kind of like the receptor for nausea in your brain, for a set amount of time, to allow her to eat, to drink, and try to build her body back up so that she could take the next chemo treatment. So we actually had unbelievable success with that. And then a lot of people in her chemo group, and they started buying and using as well. And most about everybody in our kind of trial run there with everybody, they all dumped the pills, because chemo pills, there's like that analogy, like I have a mouse problem, so I went out and bought a bunch of snakes. Now I have a snake problem, so I had to go buy a bunch of owls. And now I have an owl. Like your problem just keeps getting kicked down the road, because what were they saying? Like, here's a pill for nausea.
Yeah,
but that caused headaches.
That's like
here's a pill for the headache.
There's a Saturday Night Live commercial that they do that, hey, here's this, and then all the stuff is way 10 times worse, and you're like, what? Like, and it's a play off of, those are a lot like real commercials are like that. Hey, can't sleep? Try this. It'll make your leg fall off. Oh, okay. What? That's not. Yeah. So I totally get that. And with this stuff, seeing like, I want my wife to live a long time. Yeah. I need to figure something out. Right.
So I was taking that. I took CBD after surgery because instead of taking a painkiller that would actually affect your liver, I would take the CBD because it reduces the inflammation after a surgery.
Oh.
So you don't need to take anything else. You could take that. Now I take CBG because the CBG inhibits cancer cell growth. So I'll be taking that for the rest of my life.
Yeah, gladly.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're excited to take it, I would think.
It was kind of, it's like we said, it's been a wild ride to get here to Fort Wayne, Indiana. And the business was kind of developing at the same time we were running into these problems. And it just kind of meshed. And we're super happy with the results we have. And we're super happy with our product. And even if nobody ever bought it, I would still make it just for us. That's kind of how I look at that, so.
Because it helps. It helps us.
It
It helps our
out.
family. It just...
And to get back to your original question about when do I think cannabis is going to be illegal, I mean, it's got to come here for the people just in that world to have an ability. Like in California, when we were going through this, it was very accessible and so easy just to use cannabis, even in a small microdose, to like stimulate appetite, to get through these processes, to rebuild weight, to drink water, to rehydrate and flush out what you needed to flush out. Like,
Yeah.
it was so accessible. And then we came here and Parkview's like, well, you can drive to, if you need to, you can drive to Michigan.
Yeah.
but-
I mean, not to get political or anything, but for cancer patients, because I've been there, it makes a huge difference. And not just for me, but everyone in the oncology, area that I was in. It makes a difference. I wish people could see that this is not a chemical, this is not illegal, this is not bad. It's a plant, but it helps. And if you're already going through some issues that the doctors keep telling you, well, let's take this or let's switch it to something else and let's see what else we can give you. You're not hurting yourself and you're not losing anything, but at least trying.
Yeah.
If it helps you, which I know that it will, then you're taking something that's natural and not addicting, nothing that you'll need more in the long run. It's going to be so beneficial at the end. So I always tell people, I'm still here. Just try it. You have nothing to lose.
Man, I mean, I'll run through a brick wall now for it. Like, geez, how can you hear that story and not, just like, wow, guys, that is one of the most touching stories that we've ever told on this show. And I was joking earlier about that it may be one of the longest shows, but I'm glad because the story needed to be told, even if, like you mentioned, she may not talk about it a lot. Like, we really appreciate you being able to talk about it and tell us about it, because it's important for the story of your products,
Yeah.
And I know it's not easy or fun, but man, I think it will resonate with a lot of people. And I hope that when people come to the market, so every Saturday 9 to 1, I hope that a flock of people come, and from hearing the story, let's get the word out there of what the potential is. And man, it's so cool.
And I will say this for you guys at the Wild Night, you guys have put together one of the best farmers markets I've ever seen. Farmers markets are like really big in LA, where we were at, in California. They
True.
can't hold a candle to what you guys are doing.
Why? Why
don't-
do you say?
Believe it or not, as much as they were touting in LA their kind of history for their products and all, they really got focused on certain things I think that were maybe trendy, but I feel like here people have spent time making quality. Like the people who sell chicken, the eggs, blows any organic certified nonsense in California out of the water in terms of taste, texture, and everything else. Like the candles, everything people are doing here, they're doing so well. And that's one of the things I think her and I really kind of were impressed by. We were like, oh my gosh. I mean, we spend probably $200 every week loading our house up for whatever we need.
You got milk, you got bread.
Milk, everything. It's bread, milk, chicken, eggs. It's just unbelievable how quality everything is. And you guys are doing an unbelievable job. So
testament to Ashley, who's been doing it for over a dozen years. And yeah, I love being a part of it too, and being able to have these conversations, although difficult, for sure. So thank you so much for
of course
talking about some of that stuff. A couple questions.
Sure.
Still.
Sorry.
If you were to pick out something about Fort Wayne that you, because you're kind of from the area and then came back,
yeah.
and I know she's not from here really at all, but something about the Fort Wayne area that you can pick out and say, and you did kind of touch on it, but something that you feel like, wow, I'm kind of proud now to live here. Like, this is kind of cool that I get to be here based on, you know, what would you say?
I'll let you start there, as you've never lived in Indiana before.
I have to go back to the people. Everyone is helpful here. Kind of hard for me to talk about it. Having to go through what I did, coming here, people care. And that means a lot to me. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had to teach her about the word supper.
No, casserole.
Casseroles.
I didn't know what it was.
Oh my gosh, the Midwest.
I've had to tell her that
supper.
if supper's at 7,
I
you got to
don't
be
say
there
that.
before. But people
That's
say it.
so, yeah, no, they do. I'm from the Bay Area, so
Yeah.
hey, I don't say supper, but there are plenty of people that listening that do say supper for sure.
I said, if someone's going to tell you they're calling at 7, they're going to call at 7. She's like, they really keep their word. I was like, even to that, like this is the Midwest. It's punctual. It's on time. Supper's at 7.
Yeah.
You know, here's the casserole.
Here's the casserole.
I was
Tuna
like, what's
casserole.
a casserole?
That is the most like Midwest thing. Tuna casserole.
Someone said to me, when I asked, I said, what's a casserole like? They're like, we just don't have time. We just throw a bunch of things inside of a casserole and we put it in the oven. I was
And
like,
hopefully it tastes good.
Yeah.
And usually it does.
well,
right?
they said it usually has cheese and bacon
Yeah.
and maybe
That's fair.
potatoes.
Yeah. That's fair. That's pretty good.
I think that's a great place to start.
Yeah, I was gonna say, how could that be bad? Don't hate on that.
That doesn't exist in Argentina.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Well, for me, Fort Wayne, just in the past 20 years, the growth and the gentrification downtown is just astounding.
Crazy,
astounding. Like the Tin Cap Stadium. I love going to that more than I loved going to Dodger Stadium. Like, it was such
the
a good
Dodgers
time.
are terrible, so
Well,
Giants.
that's a different podcast.
No, yeah, that is.
But the schools, the people, the traffic, I just feel like everyone's super focused on making their community great, knowing their neighbors, just kind of everything I grew up with in Adams County that I took for granted. And then when I moved away, it was very apparent that
For
this
sure.
is not the normal. And for us with, children and kids, it's like this is exactly where you want to put your kids for schools.
I love that you said that. I'm looking up something because if you're listening to this podcast, there's one that I want you to refer back to, and her name is Anna, and she is an Italian baker.
Oh, I know her. I
Okay,
love her. She's
so-
amazing.
So she was on. I don't know how long ago it's been, and that's what I'm looking up to tell you the exact episode. But when you said something about take for granted and that kind of thing, that where you don't, you move for a while and now all of a sudden you're back and you notice these things. And it was from a month ago. So Anna Bao de Lucio Italian Bakery. So look up that episode.
Okay.
If you guys want to hear a story of taking things for granted, she's from Italy. And she talks about, wow, you guys like are allowed to do XYZ and this. And it's like, we take for granted our freedoms and take for granted all these different things. And then you mention it like, you kind of sometimes take for granted that when you go to Walmart or something, hopefully not too much because you're buying from the market, but whatever, the grocery, sometimes if you go and you have a conversation with the person behind you. I have lived here since 1988, and I don't think that that's weird at all. However, I do understand that that's not normal for you. And you're like, why is this guy talking to me? Honey, he's not hitting on you. He just noticed that you have the same brand of toothpaste that he has. You laugh, but I'm not making it up, though.
No,
It's
you're not.
true.
I'm
It's
laughing because when we first started to get together and we were standing in like an airport and we were in a line full of people from Indiana and everyone's talking, she leaned over like, do you know that person? I'm like, I don't. We're just talking about the Colts and how
why are
terrible,
you, yeah, why are you talking to them then?
It's
Well,
just-
because they're a fellow human being.
Yeah.
It's more not about Indiana. It's more about every place else that doesn't do it. Shame on
Exactly.
them.
Shame on
it's
them.
not
I
that
agree
we're
with you.
weird.
Yeah.
I think Indiana is you guys are all like a family. And that's the difference with, where I grew up in, mostly in Miami. It's true. You guys will talk about anything, or if I'm standing at Kroger's or farmer's market or the library.
You instantly have friends right
Yes.
there, and
Yeah.
even though you don't know their name yet.
Yeah, and I love that. That's actually nice.
Our first farmer's market, you called me because I had the boy, and she kind of sets up in the morning. We load the car up. And
Oh,
she
the first time you were vending.
Yeah,
Yes.
first time she was vending and she was trying to get the canopy up, and all the other vendors saw her struggling and they all came over and helped her, and she called and was like, these people just came over and they helped me. They didn't even ask for anything. I was like, do I have to pay them? I'm like, no.
Yeah, we just call that a Saturday. You don't.
Yeah.
That's not a thing. Like that's just as normal. And what's funny is every episode, I feel like I hear a story like
Yeah,
that, and it's
true.
just kind of common. Like that's just normal. So now you see why my mom will not move.
Yeah.
She just won't. She'd rather be divorced. I mean, she's not moving here, guys.
I don't blame her.
I
Yeah.
mean, you've been here since '88, and it's like, nope, I'm not moving. This is home.
Yep.
Where else, when you're going through what you're going through, where else would you rather be than home?
Yeah, we're here for good. We're here for good.
Yeah.
Love hearing that. So I end every episode with this question. The mayor comes to you guys and says that he is tasking you with making a sign that will be seen for the entire Allen County 260 zip code, however you want to look at it. It's going to be way up in the sky, and he's tasking you with what it's going to say.
Mm. Would you put it in Spanish or would you do it in English?
No, I would put it. Maybe I can do Spanglish. I don't know.
Great movie.
Yeah, right. I was just enjoy life every day. Don't take it for granted.
Definitely. What about you?
Boy, I don't know. You really caught me off guard on that one.
That's the idea.
So we have a little saying here at the 310, and it's called livin', but we do Livin, with hyphens all in between. Livin, livin'. Just enjoy, just take a moment. You don't have to solve the world's problems. You just got to make sure that you find that happiness, that you find that health, and go forward. Like, I used to involve myself in like all kind of political debates and just, thought-provoking things and reading. But after our past few years, this just really boils down to like personal happiness, just that Livin, just living and doing what you can for you to be okay. Just be okay.
Yeah.
It's such a
Basic,
generic,
yeah.
basic thing, but it's so true.
Tomorrow's not guaranteed.
Yeah.
So you have to enjoy every single day with the people that you love and that love you.
No question. Thank you so much again for sharing the stuff that wasn't as easy to share. This is very powerful. So guys, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. every Saturday. Make sure you check these guys out. Where would they follow you as well? On Facebook and Instagram?
Instagram, it's republic.310.
Okay.
We have Facebook. It's Republic 310. The website is republic310.com. But just stop by, say hi.
Ask questions, guys.
Exactly.
I get that, like, you're not going to understand stuff, so make sure you ask these guys exactly what you're either worried about or what you're curious about. They will help you. They'll tell you everything about it. And again, thank you guys for coming on here, and we will see you at the market.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Yep. This podcast is brought to you by Coraggio Media. The show is edited by me and sponsored by the Weil&I Farmers Market. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram for all the latest updates. We will see you next week, where we will be sure to show you how you can enjoy Fort Wayne.